Imagine waking up tomorrow and seeing this headline everywhere. A brand new Michael Jackson album is coming. Not unreleased demos, not remastered songs, not old recordings from the vault. An entirely new album. New vocals, new lyrics, new production, created with artificial intelligence. At first, that idea sounds impossible, maybe even disturbing, but the more you think about it, the more complicated the question becomes. Because if there's any artist whose career was built on innovation, experimentation, and pushing music into the future, it was Michael Jackson. So what happens if technology reaches the point where Sony, the Jackson estate, and producers that Michael trusted could realistically create an AI-generated Michael Jackson album? Would it be a tribute, a technological breakthrough, or would it completely cross the line between honoring an artist and replacing them? Artificial intelligence is already transforming music. AI voices, AI production, and AI-generated songs. And right now, the music industry is trying to figure out where the ethical boundaries even are, because technically speaking, we may not be that far away from a future where a deceased artist can continue releasing music indefinitely through AI. And honestly, if the industry ever attempts something that ambitious on a mainstream level, Michael Jackson feels like the artist they would eventually try it with, not only because of his fame, but because Michael always represented the future of music itself. One reason this conversation feels strangely believable is because Michael was never an artist who played things safe. Throughout his career, he constantly pushed music videos forward, live performances forward, production and choreography forward, and even celebrity culture itself. Thriller didn't just become successful, it changed what a pop album could even be. His short films felt futuristic, his performances felt larger than life. Even his sound often felt years ahead of what other artists were doing. Michael always seemed obsessed with evolution. So there's a strange argument people could make that an AI album might actually fit the image of Michael as a groundbreaking artist. That he could become the first truly major legacy artist to release an entirely AI-generated album of new material. And honestly, that possibility feels both fascinating and possibly deeply upsetting at the same time. Technically, a project like this probably wouldn't be impossible anymore. Imagine a scenario where longtime collaborators help shape the music, AI reconstructs Michael's voice patterns, and producers build songs based on styles Michael experimented with during his life. From a business perspective, the temptation would be enormous, because a new Michael Jackson album would instantly become one of the biggest entertainment stories in the world, not just musically, but culturally. It would dominate headlines everywhere. But this is where things become uncomfortable, because at what point does honoring an artist become exploiting them? Michael Jackson was famously perfectionist, obsessively perfectionist. He reportedly spent massive amounts of time refining his vocals, arrangements, performances, and production details. He didn't just release music casually. He wanted it to meet his standard. And that creates one of the biggest ethical problems with AI-generated music. Michael himself would no longer be making the final decisions. No matter how advanced AI becomes, it still cannot truly know what Michael would approve of, what he would reject, or what he would consider unfinished. And for an artist whose identity was built around perfection, that matters a lot. The public reaction would probably be incredibly divided. Some fans would be fascinated, others would see it as deeply disrespectful. And honestly, both reactions would make sense. Because on one hand, people miss Michael's music, people want to hear his voice again, and technology creates emotional curiosity. But on the other hand, many people would feel uncomfortable hearing new music from someone who isn't alive to approve it. Especially because AI already creates anxiety around authenticity. Would audiences emotionally connect to an AI Michael Jackson song, or would it feel hollow? A simulation instead of genuine artistry? That question alone could define whether a project like this succeeds or completely collapses publicly. Then there's the issue of the Jackson family themselves. Would they even agree to something like this? Honestly, probably not unanimously. Some members may see it as preserving Michael's presence, introducing him to younger generations, and continuing his music legacy, and others would probably see it as a cash grab. Others might see it as crossing an ethical line Michael would never approve of, and considering how divided perspectives already seem within the Jackson family regarding Michael's legacy, an AI album could easily create even more tension, especially if certain family members believed the project felt more corporate than personal. Michael Jackson's estate would also face an incredibly difficult decision, because financially the potential would be massive, but reputationally, the risk could be enormous. An AI album might reignite controversy, create accusations of exploitation, or permanently damage trust with parts of the fan base. And once something like that is released, there's no taking it back. It could fundamentally change how people think about posthumous music forever. But let's not forget that Sony and the Michael Jackson estate created a holographic performance of Michael to perform at the Billboard Music Awards a few years ago. So technically, they've already dipped their toes into what AI could create. But this may be the most important question of all. What would Michael Jackson actually think about this? And honestly, that's impossible to answer. Part of Michael would probably have been fascinated by the technology itself. He loved innovation, spectacle, and he loved pushing entertainment forward. But another part of him may have hated the lack of control, because Michael Jackson's artistry wasn't just about sounding good. Every detail mattered to him. An AI can imitate style, but it can't truly recreate intention. What makes this conversation so important is that it probably won't stop with Michael Jackson. Eventually, the music industry is going to face major questions about AI and deceased artists. Questions like, who owns someone's voice after death? Should AI-generated performances even exist? And where is the line between tribute and exploitation? Michael Jackson just happens to be one of the first artists where technology, the fame, and the public interest are all big enough to make the idea feel possible. So should Sony Music ever make an AI Michael Jackson album? Maybe technologically they eventually could, but ethically, emotionally, artistically, that answer is far more complicated. Because Michael Jackson wasn't just a voice, he was a perfectionist, a visionary, and a human being with creative instincts no AI could fully reproduce. And maybe that's the real reason this idea feels so controversial. Not because the technology is impossible, but because Michael Jackson himself was impossible to truly replicate. Would you listen to an AI-generated Michael Jackson album, or do you think some artists' music should end with them? Let me know in the comments below, and like and subscribe for more deep dives into celebrity legacy, music history, and entertainment controversy.